Federal Reserve Governor Jerome Powell admits fact we are not going back to the same economy. Even Jerome Powell admits that his boom years are over. For months, I've been trying to explain to my listeners that the debt-fueled prosperity we enjoyed prior to the COVID pandemic will not come back. And I receive a lot of criticism for saying that at the beginning. However, this criticism has declined because at this point, almost everyone can see the truth. Despite the stimulus package, after the stimulus package and the Federal Reserve's unprecedented intervention, we continue to be stuck in the worst economic recession since the Great Depression of the 1930s. Fear of the virus continues to drive down the overall level of economic activity, with more and more businesses going bankrupt, and job cuts seem to never end. Normally, Federal Reserve officials work hard to be relentlessly optimistic. But at the European Central Bank panel Thursday, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell openly admitted that we will not go back to the same economy. We're not going back to the same economy, Powell said. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it will be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that it's going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers. The central bank leader said he was referring specifically to relatively low-paid, public-facing workers who are bearing this brunt, many of whom are women and minorities. His use of the phrase "a different economy" really caught my attention. When I try to politely tell someone a really bad news, I will usually use the word "different" to explain how things are going, and I think Powell does the same here. He knows that there is no way for things to return to normal anytime soon, and it is quite correct that he is particularly concerned about how this will affect low-wage workers. Low-wage workers are losing their jobs at a higher rate than anyone else, and job losses continue. On Thursday, we found out that 709,000 Americans claimed new unemployment benefits last week, 3 times more than we witnessed in a typical week in 2019. The Labor Department report showed an 11th straight week that new jobless claims totaled below 1 million, but new claims have not yet broken back below 700,000 since the start of the pandemic and have held sharply above levels from before the outbreak. Throughout in 2019, new initial unemployment claims were coming in at an average of just over 200,000 per week. As of October 24th, a total of 21.16 million Americans were bringing home some form of unemployment benefit. A year ago, this number was only 1.45 million. In other words, we're in the middle of a national unemployment nightmare, and many analysts are deeply concerned that the new wave of isolation that is now taking place across the country will cause a new rise in layoffs. As colder weather sets in and fear of the virus escalates, consumers may turn more cautious about traveling, shopping, dining out, and visiting gyms, barbershops, and retailers. Companies in many sectors could cut jobs or workers' hours. In recent days, the virus resurgence has triggered tighter restrictions on businesses, mostly restaurants and bars, in a range of states, including Texas, New York, Maryland, and Oregon. The risk may be for more layoffs as coronavirus cases surge, and some states impose restrictions on activity, said Nancy Vanden Houten, an economist at the forecasting firm Oxford Economics. Yesterday, I discussed the fact that one of the experts on Joe Biden's new COVID-19 advisory board wanted full national isolation for at least a month after Biden entered the White House. Needless to say, this will make the economic depression we are experiencing right now much worse. But of course, there are many Americans out there who would not tolerate any more lockdown. In fact, a new survey found that only 49% of all Americans will be very likely to stay home for a month if the health authorities advised. Fewer than half of Americans say are very likely to comply with another lockdown, despite growing concerns over the coronavirus pandemic. The latest Gallup polling shows about 49% of Americans polled between October 19 and November the 1st said they would be very likely to stay home for a month if health officials recommended, following a coronavirus outbreak in their community, down from 67% in the spring. Millions of lives were shattered by previous lockdowns, and the economic damage caused by another round of isolation will be incalculable. But it seems that there is more isolation coming anyway, and that means much more economic trouble ahead. Victoria Perez, 38, had 2 jobs before the outbreak, but quickly lost both when COVID occurred. Now, she and her kids live in a city residence in Oakland, California, and they are just one step away from being homeless. Among them is Victoria Perez, who was working 2 delivery jobs before the pandemic struck, having lost both jobs in the spring. She is now living with her children in city-subsidized housing near Oakland, California, and hoping to avoid homelessness. The city housing provided to people at heightened risk of the coronavirus lasts only through December. Perez, 38, is a cancer survivor. What should he do if he cannot find a new job after the holiday season? Being homeless is bad enough. We're talking about the kind of nightmare scenario no one should have to live with when you add children to the equation. Unfortunately, as the US economy collapses before our eyes, the ranks of the homeless are definitely exploding across the country. In 2021, as our ongoing economic collapse accelerates further, I'm hearing from so many people who are deeply hurt right now, and I wish I had better news for everyone. Unfortunately, the consequences of extremely stupid decisions for decades have caught us. And to say that we are entering a different economy is certainly a huge understatement.
Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.